Hola amigos, how are you? How's it going? Welcome to another episode of Behind the Tech. Your host, Ramon Roche, General Manager of the Drone Code Foundation. I am joined today by Jordi Munoz. We're at Embro in San Diego. And yeah, I'm really stoked to be here. I just got a tour of all the facilities and everything that's happening here. It's amazing. And we're going to talk about all the machines and everything that's happening in a little bit. But before we continue, I just wanted to let you know, remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you're following us on PX4 Autopilot channel on YouTube. Also, go to our social media channels for Drone Code and PX4. And hi, Mom, if you're seeing this, and everyone else, thank you for being here with us. Yeah, so today's episode is going to be a bit different from what we've been doing the last three ones. We're going to have a bit more interactiveness with the audience. So if you have time for questions, drop them in the chat. We're going to have my iPad here. I'm going to be able to read them, and we're going to be able to answer those live. And as you can see, like, people are working here in the office, so don't mind us. We're live doing this. So thank you again, Jordi, for letting us do the stream here. We are really excited to be with you. I wanted to start the day by actually asking you. You were at the PX4 Live Summit in Austin a couple of weeks ago. What did you think?
Oh, it was amazing. Well, except the first night I had a little extra bottles, so I couldn't attend Friday. But it was amazing to meet many of the people that I know them by emails or thread conversation. Yeah. So it's very fun. It's very nice to put faces on those names. They were pretty cool conferences. There were a lot of conferences. Unfortunately, I couldn't see them all. And it was great. It was a great experience, and I hope it happens more often.
Yeah, I mean, one of the trends that I kept seeing at all different conferences is like, hey, I know you from GitHub, or I know you from the forums. And don't worry if you didn't see all the sessions. We're going to upload everything to our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this and you didn't get to see all of them, we're going to upload everything to YouTube soon, and you're going to be able to watch everything. So Jordi, talk to us a little bit about Jordi. Who is Jordi? Where do you come from?
Well, long story short, I don't want to bore everybody, but I'm from TJ. I was born in Ensenada, but I grew up in TJ, which is
that's in Mexico.
Yes, in Mexico, which is right in the border to San Diego. So I also, let's say, spend a lot of time in San Diego, shopping and all that. So I have this strong technological influence, from going to Miramar air shows to see the airplanes. So I always love aviation. Computers, go to Radio Shack that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. I remember I was like 6 and I saw the computers in the entrance.
Yeah.
And I go,
I mean, there's still Radio Shacks in Mexico.
Well, that's a good nostalgia to remember. And I always wanted to do technology related to airplanes. So that's how everything began. Always try to learn computers, how to program, but at the same time I wanted to be a pilot, learn how to fly. Obviously I started with RC airplanes because I didn't have the cash to fly real airplanes. Actually never. But it wasn't until I was probably 21 when I had the opportunity and the knowledge to start playing with microcontrollers and integrating the first sensors that will become the first. The official name was Autopilot. I selected Autopilot because it was based on Arduino, and I used the Arduino microcontroller paired with Wii sensors and all that, and that's how I started getting kind of popular on very tiny niche environment of drone developers.
I mean, back then DIY drones were like a small niche.
Yeah, it was do-it-yourself drones. Yeah. Do you remember? There was no 3DR, no PX4, no Autopilot, nothing. There's just nothing basically. And that's it. The same people in the community start helping and start contributing. Then we founded 3DR because people were asking for hardware. Because one thing is the software community, they're helping improve software, whatever that can be done from anywhere in the world. But many of them, or 99% of the people, they didn't want to build their own hardware. And I understand it's difficult, it's a lot of wires. You really need to have knowledge to like that.
So how long ago was this? Like, because I've been working in drone for the last 10 years, and For those of you that don't know, Jordi actually gave me my first job in the drone industry like 10 years ago. But back then, you already had a company already well established. So you already had gone through a whole journey to get there.
That is correct. We started not even in a garage. It was in my bedroom. So it was in the bedroom with my wife at the time and my
I've
kid.
seen the pictures, yeah.
And we are there all cramped, trying to make the boxes. I hack a toaster oven to be able to.
Yeah, let's talk about that toaster oven.
Yeah, that was cool. We needed a reflow oven, and now there is a lot of toaster ovens you can buy on eBay. They are hacked to do this, but back then I have to build my own. So that was kind of a very interesting story, but it worked. So I built autopilots and we start selling them, and that's basically give us the cash to grow super fast. But
how many fast. Were you building a month back then?
As many of them. It was I used to build 40. They cost nothing for us, but we sell it I thought it was very expensive at then, but it was like $40. So I remember that I just put it in stock and they sold instantly. Like in 5 minutes, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, the other day I went through your YouTube channel, your personal YouTube channel,
yes.
And you have a lot of videos of back in the day. And
yes.
I saw a lot of the projects that are like right now a thing or like actually help the drone industry grow, that you were like barely getting those off the ground and making things happen.
There is one that never gives the proper attention, but it was, I had my full simulator system of the loop. It was based on a hardware, and I was able to inject it and read as a joystick, and I was controlling X-Plane. That's how I actually developed the first algorithms to navigate, GPS, and all that. And I didn't appreciate it back then, but now that I see it's like, dude, did I do that? I don't know how I managed to do many things, but I guess is when you get into it and you're many hours, you get into this trend, zone. And I actually was very excited because I'm lazy. I wake up at 9, 10, 11, the younger, the later. But when I was excited to apply, I would just wake up automatically at 6 a.m. and I was excited and I just going to code all day until 2, 3, 4 a.m. It was very, very fun.
So for those that are watching right now and they want to get into drones, and like, what sort of background did you have in order that helped you get into this technology?
Well, I have my background, self-taught since I was 10. I was 10 years old. I already knew how to build computers and program and all that. And 16, I was more proficient. Typical job doing networks and all that is fixing the computers.
It's a typical IT job.
Yeah, it's a typical IT job.
Fix my router, and also build my website.
Yeah, then I recommend everyone to get just a MacBook and no more viruses. So that's I knew something. Then I went to university. High school, I learned to program too because we have a programming very good class. But then I went to university in Mexico, computer engineering, which is basically programming and electronics. But I didn't finish. But still, the first 2 semesters that I go over there, I got very good knowledge, digital electronics, and all that you need basically to kickstart. And that's how I started, basically. With little knowledge, and the rest I have to research it. I have to open math books and get help from everybody. There is this guy called Bill Primerlani. Mm-hmm. Bill Primerlani is a very good friend of mine, but he's a super mathematician. He works for General Electric, actually in the drone division. He's the one, he developed the OpenUAV board, I think, that is sold in SparkFun. Yeah, that dude is just, when I just sit and he starts explaining me all the math, it was like, this guy is from another planet. He was way beyond, but he helped me integrate the direction scene matrix. I simplified enough to be able to run it in an 8-bit microcontroller, which was the Autopilot, that later led to the IMU, which was APM, the Autopilot Mega Autopilots.
That was my first flight controller, actually, the Autopilot Mega. So when you got your own garage set up and you had your own hardware, you were like using your own toasting oven to the reflow. So when did you decide to make a company out of this?
Well, it was the community. The community started pushing you like, hey, I need one. Can you build me one? I paid you. But I was scared, because growing up in Mexico there is no rules. So nobody can sue you. You can get away with anything. But in the United States, I heard many stories growing up here, like, I don't know, somebody sued McDonald's because they got burned with the coffee and they got a $1 million settlement. Yeah. And it's like, dude, I will never sell a system that is going to go into an airplane that may fall into somebody's house, burning with the light exploding or something. No way I'm doing that. So Chris Anderson, the editor-in-chief of the Wire magazine, told me, hey, let's open this business. We split, and I take full legal responsibility. And it works because if you're a small company, back then, and there is something probably I haven't told before. I got FBI visits to my house. Back then, doing drones was considered like a missile technology or military technology, and they were like all over the place. and there were other people trying to do drones before, and they were shut down. But Chris Anderson was so, let's say, influencer back then, and he had a position of power. It's still very powerful. He was able to basically keep all the government in line, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and he know all the loopholes, and if you do something, we post something in the Wire magazine, and we can blow you out of the water. So they didn't touch him. So
it's also because like they didn't understand what was going on. So you like someone going over there that has credibility explaining what's happening.
Exactly. Also, they tend to trust more as an entity, a leader in the technology environment in San Francisco. So they trust him more. So they allow him to proceed, and I was able to work. So basically, he protect me legally, and so I can focus on the engineering side and the production side. So that's how it started.
Well, one other thing that I don't think that anyone knows, or at least I've done a lot of research on how all this got started, to be honest. Like I tried to figure out when was it that the first Pi controllers were invented, or who was it at the time part of the community, and haven't really been able to trace back where did all of you actually found the place to gather. Like there was a DIY drones forums, but was there anything else before that?
Well, definitely it was the famous Paparazzi. Paparazzi is honestly the first open source system. However, I don't understand why it didn't take off that much, but I do remember that the main developer died in an accident. I think he was climbing or something the ice, and he died, passed away, and then the program never continued. But they have a lot of reference, designs and very good. But I think they didn't have this community like do it yourself where people can gather and start chatting. It was just a web page, like a wiki. So it was not as easy to get into it. So I think that was the issue. But they have really good resources. Many of the developments they did, I used them and helped me develop the first Autopilot, but based on Arduino. Now that I think about it, I do believe the reason why it was not as accessible, it is because of the Arduino itself. They were using, I don't remember, I think they were using PIC microcontrollers. And if you remember, back in 2007 and earlier, to have a microcontroller was very expensive. You have to pay $500 for the development tools and all that. So Arduino came to change all that. It was super cheap, $35. You have your micro, and that pave the way to be able to let more, poor developers like me to have access to hardware and start writing code right away. You don't want to deal with anything else.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said there about when you create a community, you have to pay attention to the newcomers in the community, and you have to lower the barriers of entry. And I think the Arduino factor where actual hardware was accessible now, and according to my research, that's actually what kickstarted the drone community and the DIY drone scene, and then the drone industry started taking off hand in hand with the DIY community.
Exactly, and that's why we call it Autopilot, no? Now.
Yeah, and then there were a lot of members of that community initially that right now have their own companies like you.
Exactly, yeah.
So talk to me a little bit more about 3DR. So now that you and Chris met and you decided to turn this side project into a business, what did it took you to learn, or did you keep like building your own hardware, or do you have to hire people? Do you have to grow?
Yeah, we hired. Well, it was fun, but it was not fun. It grew exponentially. Like every month, we have to move every 6 months. It It actually,
Why did you have to move?
because we rent something, say, oh, it's big enough. Then 3,000 square feet is something I will never imagine coming from my garage.
Yeah.
And suddenly we are all packed. Like right now, we're super packed. We
This
don't fit
doesn't
anymore.
happen in Emerald.
Yeah, it's happening. I'm just waiting for the economy to stabilize and prices, and then I'm gonna move to something 10 times bigger. Now we're super dude. It's like a submarine. But anyway, at that time was cheaper. We started the company just after the economy collapse. The recession. And that helped a lot because you could find big warehouses for nothing.
You remember what year was that?
2009,
2009.
2010. Very good business opportunities back then. So yeah, I have to hire people, buy machines. We start getting new pick and place machines like these. Proper ovens, and actually the first production line was in San Diego, and eventually we decided to move it to Tijuana. So,
So you went full circle and went back to Tijuana for manufacturing.
Yes, it's something very common here in San Diego. The HQ are usually in San Diego or in LA or in San Francisco, and they have the manufacturing plant in Tijuana. It's qualified labor, cheap. You have everything. Actually, they teach us a lot because many of the employees that we have they used to work on Sony, Toshiba, and all those huge.
I feel like a lot of people don't know that the relationship between Mexico and San Diego, and specifically Tijuana and San Diego, and the money is like a huge manufacturing and tech hub.
That is correct. And there is a lot of knowledge they lost already here about manufacturing, running those machines, and they have it all. And they really boost quality a lot compared to San Diego when we moved to Tijuana. And they just, did up. I actually took it for granted. Oh, so easy. They're building, I don't know how many pixels one per minute.
Because you got the right talent.
Yeah, oh yeah, super easy. And this is something I wanted to tell later when I found Emerald here, that I decided to take manufacturing back. Then, everything exploded in my face. It was so difficult. Like, I remember we built like 100 Pixels 1, the first generation, and 95% of the 95 units fell out of 100.
Wow.
It was so difficult to learn all that tiny.
The minutiae of manufacturing, yeah.
Yeah, it's an art. It takes time. Now, when they criticize Tesla, for example, I say, like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. I feel them. But yeah, that's more or less how. But going back to 3DR, it was exponential growth.
Yeah.
And it was not funny. It was very difficult.
So you were the founder, and then you had to scale the company.
Uh-huh.
And did that take away a lot of your time from actually doing what you like doing?
Yes, we do. We started. Chris make sure to make a lot of noise everywhere, so they started inviting me to a lot of conferences, speeches, especially in Mexico. Yeah. I went to many countries to give speeches: Brazil, Turkey, Russia, and I stopped doing what I like the most, doing engineering, and it changes. But I want to be honest. I was not running the entire company. The company had divisions, and every division was very independent, and they were very, very good at what they were doing. So, what I was doing, while I was, doing speeches, other people were running the company, running the production line, running Tijuana, running marketing, running the web store. You were in the web store. You can tell me more about that. You actually keep telling me stuff that I didn't know, because it was a huge company back then. It was not we couldn't sense what's going on between departments anymore. So yeah, it was just a tiny part of the company back then, 5%, I guess, and the rest was by the rest of the team.
Yeah, I don't remember what year I joined. That was like 2014, 13 maybe. Like back then, you already had manufacturing in Tijuana, and then you had the offices in Carmen Mesa. And then I remember going in there. You still did some manufacturing in that office. Not everything, but some of it was already happening there. Back then, 3DR was selling ready-to-fly kits. Mm-hmm. And I think they were really successful, and everything was done out of Tijuana. So how did you move from building hardware like the flight controllers to actually expanding your portfolio of products? Because you were selling thousands of things, like even nuts and bolts.
Correct. Well, we discovered the autopilot is not enough. You need sensors. So you need the GPS, the telemetry radios, the famous 3DR radios that was built by Twitch. And also at that time is when Lawrence comes to the picture, when he started creating the PX4. And we have a bunch of very talented engineers from Switzerland, from ETH University. They love San Diego. They were surfing, and they got a good time. I get a
feeling that's Julian.
Yeah, that's one of them, yeah. And so, that's when basically I was not as involved anymore. Chris was like kind of managing all the developers and Lawrence, trying to formalize all the standards for open source. And myself, I was focused most on the hardware, 100% hardware. And that included, making the new accessories, GPS, and everything that you need around it. And that's something interesting because we discovered that the sensors around the autopilot is very important. And you can see it now. People still using the Pixel 1. They don't care because
the Pixel 1 will not die.
It's not going to happen. It will never die. And the reason why it doesn't die is because they can easily upgrade the GPS. They can have RTK with L1, L2.
Yeah.
They can have a long range radio or the newest OSZ. And the platforms that were developed so good,
it's very stable.
Yeah, very stable around them to coexist.
Yeah.
That basically, nobody wants to change autopilots anymore.
Funnily enough, I think the Pixel 1 is finally going to go away soonish because of the supply chain issues.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
I don't think any of the Chinese clones or any of the actual US manufacturers can even build anymore, any of those. So
that is correct. ST decided that it doesn't make sense to allocate time for the F4 microcontroller.
Yeah.
So they are putting everything into the G4. So maybe we do the Pixel 1 with G4.
Yeah, I mean, we got support in PX4 for the G4 now.
Yeah, but no, it's not happening. We are not doing that. If you want to do it.
No, I think we're using it, or some companies are using it for drone cam sensors. So we're using the PX4 running as a drone cam hub. And the G4s now. So that's
nice.
That's a nice one. So we got 3DR going full blast. When I joined, I think the 3DR Iris was the most successful product we had. Mm-hmm. And then there was a big shift in there. And I want to quickly move on from 3DR at some point, but I want to talk about how important your role was at 3DR and the importance of 3DR was, because at some point it grew so big that there was offices in Tijuana, in San Diego, in Berkeley, California, and Austin, Texas too. So there was an engineering group in Austin, in Silicon Valley. And do you remember why that got created? Why that office got created, or what they were doing?
In which one?
In Berkeley?
Oh, in Berkeley. Well, back then the company was big enough that Chris was able to justify, quitting Wire Magazine, and that's what he decided to create his little office. So he was his dream office.
The same thing as you. It's like, I live here, I'm going to put my office here.
Yeah, he did exactly the same as we're doing right now. He has his dream office with all his toys, and he loves to fly RC, and probably it was the happiest days of his life, like mine back then. And he started bringing people, and and basically he became the new CEO of the company.
Awesome. So, by the way, Terrence from All Days on 3DR says hi.
Hello. How are you?
And also Alejandro Vasquez from TJ. Hi,
hey,
Alejandro.
what's up, man?
And Guillermo from All 3DR Days. So
Guillermo Romero?
No, Armenta.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Guillermo.
Hi.
So the Berkeley office at some point shifted gears and then started working on a secret project. Remember the Solo secret project name? What was it?
Yes.
I forgot the name.
Solo secret project.
The 3DR Solo, for those of you that don't know, or maybe you do, it's like the first smart drone, can say, that I was actually released out there. And the greatest thing about that was the smart shots.
Correct.
And I think that the 3DR Solo was a great, like, everything that was happening at 3DR at the time, and everything, like, the knowledge from everyone within the company got put into that project.
That is correct.
And by the time it got released, and I was working on that project, like, I moved on from working on the web store to move on, like, the main team of the 3DR Solo. And I remember working with, like, so many brilliant engineers at the time. Like, there were so many people at the company that I didn't even know their names. Like, it was crazy going into an office and I was like, oh, wow, hi.
Yes.
I don't even know how half of the people are.
That time was very interesting because there were many things going on. I remember I was in an email thread when basically the cube was conceived with, the cube, the famous.
That's what I was going to talk about.
The
That's
3DR cube. Which basically was a Pixar 2. I remember the first design, the person who did the cube really designed the the looks, let's say, the exterior was Jason Short. Probably you don't remember him. Or
I do remember him, yeah.
He was one of the pioneers, developers of the code. But I remember this email and say, hey, I envisioned the cube like this. And he sent this email. I probably have the picture still. And he rendered it by hand. And it's the first time I saw the cube. And I was in the office, miles away and doing something else. And when I saw this, so the cube was, being developed. But at the same time, I was working in another project that actually nobody agreed. And where, this is a piece of crap, don't do it, it's not gonna work. And it's when I was developing, we created, I call it like the Spunworks of 3DR. We call it 3DRX. So I wanted to create this telemetry system that include, high-resolution video, telemetry, and MapLink all in one.
Yep. And
we started with the first prototype using Wi-Fi, modified Wi-Fi to be able to reduce latency. There is a still use, actually the steroid version right now, and you can check it right now, it's called OpenHD. They're using also Wi-Fi, but they use these modified drivers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the AirCrack NG from Linux. It's basically a Wi-Fi auditory tools where you can install modified drivers. And with these modified drivers, you bypass all the layers, they add all kind of delays and crap, and you put one byte directly into the antenna and it gets to the other side, 0 delay, which is basically the same as OFD and radio. And it's just an amazing technology, but it's based on hacking tools. But you should check it out. And actually, we're working on something similar. So we finally put it into a drone. I was with Alan Matthew, but then he now works in Planck Aerospace.
Yeah, he's out of San Diego too.
And we were working together, I remember, and we posted a video finally just to shut mouths over there, slap faces with white gloves and say, hey, here it is, flying, streaming video, sending, and it was just a prototype of the prototype 100%. And when I show the video, the same way I receive a random email about the cube, they also receive my video. Hey, I'm working on this and it's working. And entire Berkeley was like, oh my God. And also saying, oh my God. And I remember like next day calling right to the office. And he said, we need this shit tomorrow. I remember the Facebook colleague just, doing that. And I said, but it's not ready. And he said, I don't care. We need it tomorrow. We need to put this in the new drone, which is going to have the cube. Yeah. And somehow all these independent, projects, they just united, and it was the rise of the Solos.
Yeah, that was a great time to be at 3DR, and I think in the drone industry in general, because all the technologies that 3DR was actually working on were actually eventually made open, and most of the software was open too.
That is correct.
So how did open source actually shape 3DR?
Well, it's the foundation of 3DR. If I go to a place where I was, it's because of open source. So I think it was, fair to do the same. And also Chris like open source, and we also we didn't deeply involved into that. We wanted people to have it to be more open and suggest, because the more brains you have out there contributing, fixing issues, the better and more robust software do you have, especially with system this complicated. The level of complexity of these codes is not something you can do in a small company with 5 engineers. You need an army of people. Yeah. And it's funny how some people out of the blue in Israel or whatever, they come and they say, hey, I noticed this bug here. Yeah. Out of nowhere. And that's the reason why, globally you can have these very robust systems that,
Yeah, the global collaboration and the community competition, I think that's something that's really powerful. And so 3DR worked on all this amazing hardware and software, and everything was made open. So one thing that I think a lot of people don't know is like the PixHawk 2 within the Solo. How did that project actually came to be? Talk about a little bit more before we move on from 3DR about the PixHawk 2.
Well, can you rephrase the question?
So I don't know that a lot of people know how that PixHawk 1 shifted the whole industry, and then you decided that you needed the second version of that.
Correct.
And then the PixHawk 2 came to be, but why did you decide to make the PixHawk 2, and how did it came to be? Like, who was involved in that project like then?
Well, the PixHawk 2 started like an email thread, as I mentioned. Is the first, there was a need. I don't remember the person who suggested, but they were having this it came from Berkeley, the idea that we needed something modular.
Yep.
That's why we have, for example, the Control Zero OEM. And I think that's going to be our future. We're probably going to just focus on, let's say we're going to release a FixHut 6, but OEM version. Like you do whatever you want, use the connector you want, military, whatever.
Here's the module.
Yes, here is the stamp, and it's yours. So that's probably where we are going. And they were right. And also, we were developing the dampening system. The Cube had this dampening system with a foam. We was actually developed in San Diego by it was a Swiss guy. It was not Daniel. It was I forgot the name. I'm very bad with names. I suck with names. So it was this Swiss, and we put together. I still have some pictures, but we put together speakers, sound speakers from the car, the buffers, and we make holes, and we put 3 in different axes, and we connect them to an amplifier, provided with this guy also from San Diego.
You forgot all the names.
I forgot all the names. Yeah, the amplifier, and then we are able to sweep, the frequencies across the entire spectrum of the drone operation, and we discovered the resonant frequencies of the IMUs. And then somebody in Tijuana purchased all the foams of the world. His name was Orlando, actually, and he purchased Hi, Orlando. So in Tijuana, he purchased all the foams from everywhere, automotive. In San Diego, he went to LA, and we start putting them, under the IMU until we found the right one.
Okay.
And then that's how the dampening system of the Cube was developed, and it was integrated into the first Cube, which is inside the Solo. And then you know the rest of the story. It was canceled because it was determined that dampening is not really needed for small drones, or for electric drones at least. If you have something huge, massive, and also we discovered that some Solos were failing because the foam collapses, and eventually.
So it's a great concept, but maybe not the right.
For example, we're going to release a dampening system, but now it's done properly, and the proper way is you have to be able to give maintenance. So you need to change the foam every 6 months, every 3 months, stuff like that. So we are planning to release something like that. Where, hey, the foam is not functioning anymore, just put a new one, and that's it, no problem. So that was the limitation. I think that was the reason why they canceled it. And then they released the Pixar Mini. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember Pixar Mini.
And that's it. From there, all this. It was a very, very nice collaboration between Lawrence Mayer back then, the PX4 and all the standards. Autopilot was involved. It was one big group collaborating together before. We are dying, they split it. So it was a very cool, very, very cool, team.
Yeah, it was a really good time, in especially for the drone industry. And then last question about the ER before we move on. If you could go back in time and you could change anything, what would you change?
The investors, I guess.
You gotta be careful choosing your partners.
Yeah, you have to be, there is. It changed my perspective about investing, and I couldn't do anything. I cannot do anything. I try to suggest. I mentioned multiple times, hey guys, you are maybe not doing what the company, to everyone, to the entire board of directors, and eventually they kicked me out, so I couldn't do anything. So I cannot change it. The only thing I could do is way back say, Chris, no, I don't want investment, but we don't know what would have happened because we needed the money to be able to do Solo. Solo was a very expensive development. We spent like $100 million developing that little bird over there. So so they took decisions that they say, okay, we believe that Solo is the future, so we don't need to manufacture autopilots anymore. We don't need to manufacture GPS, all the sensors, radios, and they decided to close it down. And I was like, no, why? Okay, I understand you want to keep on business, but this one is working, growth organically, is generating $40 million a year, self-sustainable. You don't need to put any money. Actually, the other way around, you can get the money to pay other stuff. And they say, no, too much trouble, too much.
It was more of a focus for them. Like, you need to focus more on this.
We need to focus, and I suggested, well, at least release Solo first, and if it works, you shut it down. No, they decided to shut it down before, That's why the CFO, they got fired immediately. And then, you know, you can continue with, focusing on one product like the AI, like they did in SoloFund. No, they decided to close it down, and happened what happened. The AI dumped the prices, and they drive us out of business.
And that's the end.
And that's the end of 3DR.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough. It's rough competing when someone can just lower the price and even like sell at a loss and sustain that because they have other sources of revenue. So maybe you could have done that if you kept your other sources of revenue too.
Yeah, I would keep the company running if I have full control. I would produce way less drones, probably 10,000, not 100,000, and see how it goes. And from there, it's scale.
Yeah.
No?
I mean, it was a very young time for the industry. I think everyone was estimating this to grow so big.
Yes. Well, that changed a lot too in the United States too. After that happened, obviously the investors with the super high influence. I won't be specific for their protections because everybody's afraid of China sometimes. But that they managed to basically fight back for what happened to 3DR, and that is the reason basically why DJI cannot be used in anything related to the U.S. government.
Okay, that's something I actually didn't know.
Good.
You heard it on the stream first.
Well, one day I'm going to write a book about it when I don't have to go to China anymore.
You should.
But that's what happened. That's the reason why this is a trade war right now.
Yeah, well, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsors, right. And then we'll continue with the interview. So I want to thank our sponsor, Alterion, for helping us host the podcast. Open source is at the core of what Alterion does. Open source and standards form the foundation, but they both need more work to be made ready for end users. That's where Alterion comes in. Alterion brings the fantastic work for the global open source developer community around PX4 and Maplink and other open source projects and puts the pieces together for end users, making open source software as easy to adopt as a commercial product. Thank you, Alterion, for your sponsorship. And going back to our conversation. So what happened after 3DR and how did Emerald got formed? So how did you decide to create your new company?
Well, here's something I haven't told either. Nobody knows this, and especially in Mexico. I was the only one in 3DR who sold shares. And I regret didn't sell more, but I sold like 5%. We're talking about when the company was valued almost in $1 billion. So those 5% was a decent amount of cash for me. I probably would stay in my life, and I got it because I wanted to, to buy a house and invest a little bit, diversify my portfolio.
You actually got out?
No, I just sold 5% of my shares.
Okay.
So I sold them and I got my cash, and 3 months later is when the company collapsed. So I was the only one who actually made money out of 3DR.
You were lucky.
I was very lucky. Again, I regret not selling 100% or 50%, but okay, again, it was a lot of money anyway. And basically, they also asked me, hey, do you want to continue in 3DR or you want to leave? And I said, I'm cornered. I cannot take any decisions. You're doing stuff, I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I'm tired of saving your ass many times, as I did with the Solo Link. You didn't believe on that one. We have many internal frictions, like any company. And I understand, and I didn't have a good attitude either. I'm not perfect, so they had their reasons. So I decided to, I just want to leave the company because the other option was to live in San Francisco, and I didn't want it to move. So we closed down I lived 3DR before it collapsed, and I had my money, and I was happy, retired. I purchased some properties, so to live off the rent. And I said, I'm going to retire. And I retired for 3 months, I guess.
I remember that.
Because I was tired too. The company put a health toll on me. Then now I can see it. I didn't knew this is going to happen, but now.
Yeah. So you need time off too.
Yeah, how my sugar went up. I'm diabetic and all that kind of stuff. I cannot get stressed anymore.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not doing this. Fuck it, retire. But after 3 months, I was killing myself. I was super bored, and I also have
you watched all Netflix catalog.
Yes,
you did everything you could do.
And there were many things I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't talk about it because I didn't want it to in trouble. But so I was frustrated. And also, I have enemies in Mexico. They were trying a lot of crap on me, but I couldn't tell them the truth. I say, like, you just have to remain silent and get with it. And
you mean that because of how E3R ended?
Yes.
Okay.
And I say, like, dude, you have no idea what happened. There is actually in Forbes, there is an entire lie. Everything they're telling is completely BS. There is nothing close to reality. And I was, dude, this is harming reputation. It was bad. But anyway, I didn't care. I just focus on myself and recover some of the time lost in 3DR because it was very dramatic. But then I saw people complaining like, hey, they shut down. I cannot buy autopilots anymore. I cannot buy GPS anymore. And, I was like, okay. At that time, they were, basically auctioning everything super cheap. And I come by and I purchase all, 3DR assembly machines. And very cheap, pennies on the dollar. Like from $1 million, I purchased them for like 30K.
Yeah, I remember they were auctioning everything. I went there and bought some office chairs and stuff for myself.
Oh, we got everything. Everybody like with fancy desks in their house and MacBook Pros everywhere. So yeah, so I purchased the machines and I put it in a storage and I leave them there. Eventually, after 6 months, decided to grab some of my money and say, you know what, let's reboot.
Yeah.
And I want to be entertained, do something, feel useful. So I reboot and I create MRO, M Robotics. And I based in San Diego, and I wanted to do manufacturing here in San Diego. By the way, it was also a very lucky decision. The same as I sold my shares, it was a very lucky decision to have manufacturing in the US because that's when Donald Trump came to the picture and has this, Americanized, do it again in America.
And then there's a lot of tariffs and imports and exports coming from Asia.
Yes, so that was a perfect timing and that helped us a lot to grow. And I also wanted to do it organically as much possible.
Yeah, and then the industry started needing US-made hardware, right?
That is correct. So it came perfect for us. It was rough. Again, I took for granted the highly skilled people from Tijuana and the manufacturing skills needed. As I mentioned you before, we used to build 100 pixels and 95 would fail. And it was awful. We wasted a lot of money trying to figure it out, but eventually we nailed it and we did the proper implementations. Thank you very much for all the Mexicans, and they were able to come and help me and transfer this knowledge. And there is something I want to say. Sometimes I want to get them working visas, but you can't because there is no. And the US government doesn't understand that there is people with certain skills that because if you are not a scientist or an engineer, you cannot come here. But dude, those guys can generate a lot of jobs here in the US if they allow them to pass. But anyway, we figured out they work remotely and they helped me set it up remotely. So we don't need you. And we finally managed. And
there's a way around everything, right?
There is a way around everything. So now we have it. We were able to bring back this knowledge to the United States, and we are now growing. And
so you bought the machines, and then you also kept some of the people that were at 3DR, and they're working with you still.
Yes, I'm working to bring in the best people from 3DR back. We're desperately looking for people.
Because a lot of them were able to find a job somewhere else really quick because there's a lot of demand for that high-skilled manufacturing.
Yeah, many of them, they created companies. Some of them already went out of business. Some of them are still strong. There was a lot. But the people that didn't build a business, I tried to bring them back and integrate them again.
Yeah, tell us more about your team. Who do you have right now? What are you working on? What do you specialize?
So we decided to do things very different than 3DR, and here comes the boring part, but it's very important. In 3DR, we grow so fast that everything we did was basically done in Excel. So all our, manufacturing, handling, and everything is Excel-based. It was a nightmare. They tried to implement proper ERP systems to manage everything.
You were there? Yeah, that was a nightmare.
And when I opened MRO, I decided to do everything since day one, perfectly,
It's just different when you start doing it from day one than when
Easier.
you're all the way like years through the manufacturing process and having to implement something. It just changes the workflow for everyone.
Yeah, it's like a bullet train moving. How do you get into a bullet train? It's impossible. So yes, we started implementing Propane ERP, MRP systems, and I have, inventory control from where I purchased it, how many times has been exposed to the air. We have like down to the screw traceability, which is very important. And now we are able to do manufacturing without delays because many times in 3DR, we were able to build, 1,000 PIXOX. And we set up all the machines and ready to go. And then suddenly when you're assembling, we run out of one component and that's it. You have to
Everything
shut down
stops,
everything.
yeah.
So now we don't do that anymore. We know exactly how much we have and we can do production without delays. We already updated all the machines. We have the state-of-the-art machines. They require minimum personnel. Minimal personnel means, more efficiency, less issues, and we also have more flexibility. I don't know if you want to show something.
Yeah, we can talk about your manufacturing too. So and I want to bring this up first. Like this is
a jet printer. We don't use stencils anymore, and this one is super fast. Maybe we can show a video later on.
Yeah.
But it's so fast that the entire frame is made of granite. It's granite, a stone basically, and the arm is made of carbon fiber to prevent the machine not from tumbling so fast. And the second one we saw before is the Kunjong, is basically the solder paste section. Yeah. Which is probably the most important machine for VGAs, because if you miss one dot of space or whatever, then the VGA doesn't work, and it just becomes a nightmare. We have an X-ray machine too, and the X-ray allowed us to see, we are missing a ball, and that's it, it's wasted.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Actually, with the jet printer, we figure out the technology to reball the VGAs.
I was looking.
And now with the charge, the chip shortage, it comes very handy because now we can clean the VGA, reball them with the jet printer machine, and redo the balls and reduce it now.
Yeah, talk to us about this machine.
Well, this is the latest state-of-the-art machine, super expensive, as you can imagine. There is only two in San Diego. It's a Mycronic, the NY300. It's the fanciest of the fancies. It's the same one using SpaceX too to build their components. And there is only two in San Diego. There is another guy that is also doing crazy stuff, and us. So this is one-of-a-kind machine. It's super fast, super flexible. You can put a chip in the conveyor, then it's gonna go pick it and place it. So it's aimed for super high mixing environments. Yeah. You can insert one magazine and the machine will start assembling while you are loading the rest, or you can do two products at the same time. It's super flexible. Probably one of the best additions. And right now it's just running nonstop.
Yeah, and I was looking at it, like they were showing me that you can just pull out the carts and it'll continue going, and then you put it back and it'll like speak up back on the errors and then come back and redo that same part.
Yeah, you can mix it. For example, right now it's loading it manually, but we have the conveyor too. So when we do simple stuff that is already fine-tuned, basically we put one PCB at the beginning of the jet printer and it just goes automatically through the conveyors. On the left side, you cannot see it, but we have a very fancy 90-degree conveyor. It turns the PCB 90 degrees.
I saw it.
Yeah, and after that, that one is not connected yet, but this is the IOI, basically the optical inspection machine. And after that is the latest vapor phase.
Yeah,
but,
so we're gonna look at this machine right here.
Yes, it's funny because we have very fancy machines, but we actually like more the let's say the do-it-yourself ones. This one is a project from some guys called Agnos PCB. It is one of my favorite machines because when I saw them, I said, dude, has so much potential, because right now with the Myrtec, we have a Myrtec IOI machine, which means automated optical inspection machine. Basically, it's a camera that is able to tell you, hey, you're missing this resistor or this capacitor is rotated, whatever. So that's what it does. And it helps a lot because humans, we get distracted, whatever, you get tired, so the machine does it super fast. But this one is based with artificial intelligence. It has a neural network, and it was trained with zillions and zillions of PCBs, and it has the same capability as an engineer to tell you, oh, you know what, you have a short here, you have a missing component, whatever, and it's very simple. It just takes a picture, It sends the picture to the cloud. They have this in AWS, NVIDIA video cards running a lot of CUDAs to do the processing super fast, and it will return me an answer. Hey, you're missing this, this, and that, and that.
So you send the proof of the master. This is a known to work PCB.
Yes.
Compare it against this.
And it's very cool because you take a picture of a master very quickly, and just press slaves, and it's super fast compared to the Myrtec, because the Myrtec takes like 2 hours, 1 hour to set it up, just to train every single part. So this one only takes 10 seconds. So it's super fast, and it's probably our secret weapon right now, and we are actually getting the latest version soon, because it's one of the cheapest machines we have, and it's so powerful.
And you mentioned that you had control over every single aspect of your manufacturing process. And when someone on your team was showing me this machine, he was like, you know what, when something goes wrong here, Jordi actually gets a text message. Like this is something that actually didn't go well.
Yeah, we hack it, and now we can get text messages from that machine, and he sends me the pictures. I'm sleeping in the bed, and I receive this, and I see the bushes, something they're doing, and I get all mad, like, hey, why are you doing this? So it's super cool. We also have, the other one is a vapor phase, and this is like
the last video?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that I hacked a toaster oven to be able to make, well, this is the same principle, but this is the second generation toaster oven hack.
Mike, can we show the last video?
Yes, we purchased this very old vapor phase system. No, it's the other one.
Yeah, no, you killed it. It's the next one.
We do have a professional vapor phase, which is in the back. It's a French-made vapor phase, super fancy, but this is the one that I made. So I got a super old vapor phase, and for people that doesn't know, vapor phase is a special liquids. It's a special liquid that boils at a specific temperature, and it creates this vapor that has that temperature. In our case, it's 230 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
So you have a little cloud inside that chamber that you cannot see that is exactly 230 degrees Celsius. And you need coils on top. There is some coils. You see those pipes, some metal pipes around that run cold water. That prevents the vapor from going away. So what you do is you soak the PCB into that vapor, and it has many advantages. It displays oxygen. It has a very even temperature spread, and it's perfect for VGAs, and it's basically our space grade soldering system. But that one, we hack it. I modify it. I put a Raspberry Pi. I create my own UI to do it, put our own stepper motors to control it, and I was able to create a perfect. You can see over there. So we're going down, and this is the cooling system, and this is the Raspberry Pi connected that moves the stepper motor, and it has temperature sensors that is able to detect, what is going on. And if you put the picture of the screen, the black screen with the little graph over there.
Can we show it to the next photo?
Yeah.
Mike?
This is
by the way, huge shout out to Mike for handling all the videos and photos behind the scenes.
So no, it's the other one with
the next photo.
The next photo, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's a UI that I made with Python. It's using Linux, obviously, and the graph over there. And as long as between the green bars, it means perfection, absolute perfection. That actually nobody can reach that when we do it, because I fine-tune it. Yellow one is the standard of the industry. It's okay, it's good if you pass it, if you're between the yellows. But if it touches green, it just means perfection. So I was able to manage and do this. That's what I love, is my second generation oven that I did back in the day in the garage. With this is the same. Is my the next generation oven that I did in myself, and it's just part of the fun that we get here. That keeps me alive and happy.
So I see a trend for going back in the day when you actually made everything and you were having fun actually building, to 3DR days where you shifted your focus to doing a lot of things, and you sort of wanted to go back to that, and now you actually did it.
Correct.
And you got all the fun, the fancy toys, and you get to actually be hands-on and do all those projects. So what are you actually building with all these machines?
Well, we do autopilots. We have, Control Zero EMs, the classic autopilots that you can see on our webpage. We have radios. We got into RF. We got very bored during COVID, so we went back to school, and we started, studying everything about RF, and it was very fun. We like it a lot, so we got all the machinery. So you will start seeing our GPS already are very well tuned, so you will see the best performance, out in the market. But now we're releasing, for example, our 900 megahertz long-range radio that is super efficient compared to the competition. that has 1 watt radius, you cannot plug it directly to the autopilot because it's very inefficient. It will run out the autopilot. Ours is super efficient that you can plug it directly to the autopilot and it will work. And it's 1 watt in better range with diversity. We already sent some samples, but we didn't sell it because of the chip shortage. We couldn't get the components. So that one is going out soon. We have a GPS, as I mentioned. We have power modules, and we have CAN devices. We are the pioneer on CAN systems. It's called actually the AP per reef that you can see on Autopilot. Even the logo has the color of the company because we were the first to push it, and Trish was very helpful to let us continue. So
by the way, hi to everyone in the Autopilot community,
and hopefully we can integrate those CAN devices in PX4 so we can all enjoy it. Because again, you may have PX1, but you can still use CAN devices, which is the latest addition. So we have GPSs. We have already the best airspeed sensor. The KitCAN, which is basically a combination of the most used sensor that you may require, and also allows you to connect any GPS and convert it to CAN. And usually, because those are far away, you can, usually they play nicely together for simple, setups, one cable, and that's it.
Yeah. So what would you say is the star product that you have in 3DR? What are you known for?
Well,
sorry, at Enro, not 3DR.
Well, the competition there, they brag because they have their autopilots in a few drones here and there. We cannot talk much because we have NDAs, but we have the 2 biggest aeronautical. I think I can mention that one. I think I can mention Lockheed Martin. We have Lockheed Martin. I can mention it because it was public on the show. It was right there that you can see it. The other one is using our products. And we have other governments. We cannot say, but we have the biggest. We have German military. We have Japanese military. So we are with the biggest guys, like kind of Boeing guys too, in the US, and they're using our products, and we sell them as hotcakes. So probably the most popular one is the Control Zero OEM. Mm-hmm. That one is super popular, and we're actually working on the next generation control. It's called Control One. And that one is going to be a killer product. It's super different, has many innovations that we developed that you're going to like a lot. Actually,
You have a few things here too?
Yeah, I have it here. I have here the Control One prototype, but probably I'm going to leave it for later because then people start asking a lot and it's not going to be ready until 1 year. Yeah, but that one is expensive. It's not going to be $300. We're talking about full redundant, independent power supply that even if one fails, the other one kicks in. And if the microcontroller fails too, it has a second power rail automatically switching. So it's super robust. All the sensors are rated to work above 100 degrees Celsius continuously. But we're talking about an autopilot is going to cost like $2,000. And the obvious client, is going to be probably government or advanced industrial applications. Right now, we're going to probably release soon the dual pressure sensor system. Maybe I can put it like this. This is just the prototype. But this is one of the innovations we're doing. Like it has 2 airspeed sensors, and it's a hybrid system that allows one, for example, the one is more sensible, and it will give you readings at very slow speed from 0.5 meters to 4 meters per second. It's very, very accurate, super nice, but it saturates very quickly. But what we do is the second sensor kicks in after 5 meters per second, and now you have the full spectrum, and you can go as high as 120 knots at sea level altitude. But also incorporates interesting systems where you have 2 pitch tubes separated at 20 degrees, and the low, let's say the high resolution, low range is going to be like a little bit off, and that allows to be able to calculate the angle of attack. So you have 2 advantages here. One, super accurate low speed sensing and angle of attack. And these ones also are high temperature. They have conformal coating, so you can throw water at them and it's going to work. And this is going to be probably kind of the latest, also CAN based. And this is actually something we're working with PX4 right now to release it with CAN. So this is one of the tiny products that we.
So you're working, you got flight controllers, but you're also pushing new sensors and new technologies out there.
Yes. So
are those driven by customer demands or more by research done in here?
Well, for example, we are super friends, like beer friends with TDK research department.
Yeah.
So TDK before we used to be InventSense, for example, and we're helping them develop the next generation industrial IMUs. That basically is going to be using our new Autopilot Control 1. So yes, we're pushing and helping companies to steer the next generation, IMUs to fulfill this application. Like, I don't know, for example, having 32 kilohertz refresh rates, stuff like that, temperature compensated. And what we care more, like be able to do minus 40 degrees Celsius all the way to 100 or 90 degrees Celsius at least, left drifting, PPS inputs to be able to have less deviation over time, all the kind of stuff we help to do. Also the AI, the AI systems that we developed, as part of our, we contributed into those developments. From where you see it, we have so many things like the micro drone we developed. We developed this micro drone that is capable to fly for 1 hour and 20 minutes. And we just did it just to show off our products, but now people wanted to buy it, but it has custom motors and everything. And this is the kind of stuff we do, and this is something that I wanted to leave very clear to people out there. We are a company. The real mojo or the real motivation why we are all here coming to work every day is because we just want to develop new stuff. That's what keeps us alive, that's what makes us happy, and we make sure that we invest a lot of money in components. And one of the services we want to provide is always have stock of everything. Right now has been very difficult, but we managed to still keep stock, maybe with some delays, but that's part of the services that we're trying to offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely amazing and impressive seeing all this here. Like, it's really different from back in the day in 3DR, like just looking at the things that are happening and the machines you have. So I really feel that inspiration that I get, at least from looking and hearing you, like everything that's going on. I want to ask you quickly, what do you think? So you're talking about modularity. Remember when we talked about Pixel 2, modularity, and then you also have the OEM Control Zero. And then do you see this trend continuing with modular flight controllers and modular devices and sensors?
Yes, I see a trend over there. As we mentioned, probably the autopilots in the future are just going to be a stamp, a commodity that everybody can just clone, and you can buy Chinese version, US version, Mexican version, maybe one day. And that's it. Yeah, it's going to spin more around the software, like not the software of the autopilot itself. I think eventually the autopilot itself will become a black box that you don't touch, you don't mess with it. But you're going to have a companion computer, and actually it's happening right now. It's happening. It's not yet standardized, but it's going there. And this companion computer is going to have a suite of software that allows you to do many kind of things, data logging, going to the cloud, and all that kind of stuff. But most importantly, the modularity of the sensors that we provide. So now you can choose something and put it together very quickly that is already supported by PX4 or an autopilot, and that's it. And if tomorrow something newer comes, you can just swap it.
I think we're getting now to the hour of the stream, so I want to end with a quick run of speed questions.
All right.
And then let's see what we got here. And then if anyone on the stream has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and then I'll see if I can read them here on stream. First question, and then this is a rule, just first thing that comes to mind, no filters, whatever you want to say. Is it really the future of drones? Drone can?
Yes, definitely yes. CAN is very robust, it's immune, it's very simple, it's getting faster. So yes, definitely. The only disadvantage I see that I don't like that much is that you need a microcontroller. And right now is the least stuff you have available in the market. So that's the only constraint, but as it gets better, yeah, definitely is I think the future. It is what cars uses, and it's going to stay there.
Great. And then what do you think about airspace and regulations?
I hate politics. That's end of my answer. But yeah, it's we don't care because we have DPass, for example, because we work with some military application. The distributors like DigiKey, they can be very bitchy with us. They can be very bad with us. And because we work for the military, we get this special pass where they say, you know what, shut up and send us everything you have in stock. They jump everybody. We jump the line, and
Yep.
they give us the priority. We even jump the automotive industries. They
That
cannot do
doesn't
anything
happen often.
because it's a government order saying, hey, this is for military. And that's it.
So you get priority access. That
Yeah,
must be
yeah,
nice.
that's super cool. It's probably the VIP pass, the best VIP pass that you can get.
So what do you think about advanced airspace mobility? So drones transporting people?
That's scary. I mean, I'm a pilot myself. As I mentioned before, my actual dream was to become a pilot, and I wanted to be both pilot and aeronautical engineer. I wanted to be the guy in another parallel world that I can work fixing airplanes, but I also was the pilot that could understand how to fly them and all that combination. That was my dream. So combining something that I do with something else that I'm doing is kind of scary because, flying is not a joke. I have seen the drones, falling apart. I have many moving, it's very new technology. For sure, I'm going to be passing in the first 10 years probably, unless you have a parachute. But if they do a parachute like the Cirrus, probably I will do it. There is this airplane, if your engine fails, you have a lever here, you pull it, and it's a ballistic parachute, and it saves your life. So if they do that and implement that in the drones, I definitely.
So if it's safe enough, you'll do it, and then you'll relive on that.
Yes, but I probably may do something about it because it goes to what we're doing fundamentally in MRO. Yeah.
Great. Well, another question: what percentage of your customers are using closed versus open software on your flight controllers? Any of your products?
I would say 99% is using everything open.
Open source.
Yeah, nobody.
Open source people.
They may do their own carrier boards, but they're using autopilot again because we come back to the same principle. It's just a black box, and we're giving you that opportunity now. So you buy the autopilot like the Cube, and you can create your own carrier board with your own connectors, and you can keep your IP there if you want.
Yeah.
So that's it's definitely open source. 100%.
The trend has been pushing the IP outside the flight controller now, and keeping that because it's proven and it's safe now.
That's correct.
Great. So last question: supply chain issues and any advice to young manufacturers or smaller companies starting out there? How can they do to sort of alleviate this? We already heard that you kind of jumped the line a little bit and you cheat, but.
Well, you're gonna have to have a lot of patience at the moment. We were lucky. We were lucky to invest enough in inventory to keep everything in stock. But I advise them that in the future be ready for that too, because every time there is a recession or something going on, there is always chip shortage. So it's just take it as a learning experience now and plan for the future. And this goes against all the bookings in the world, like your CPA is gonna get crazy, your accountant, because they hate to see inventory sitting in the warehouse.
Yeah, for sure.
But they have no idea how important it is to have inventory in the warehouse sitting.
Peace of mind.
When there is no components out there. So it just goes against them. And there is a fight there, but we don't care, we just ignore them.
Ignore your accountants.
Ignore your accountant. Don't listen to them. Just keep your inventory safe.
Okay. Very last question. Where do you see the industry in the next 10 years?
Well, I don't know. We are laid back, so we're gonna keep building our own phase, get fun in the process, not too much stress. We don't want to do too strong commitments unless the pay is good, like everyone. But I see for us, the old story of innovation and product and phase out old ones until we have a product, mature enough to be able to be used to transport lives probably in the near future. But I see that is now already fully integrated. You see drones now everywhere. Everywhere they're using, now they trust them more, a regulation is coming in place. So, it's something that's gonna keep growing and growing and growing.
is a falling in place family.
Yeah.
Great. And then is there a Pixel FM UV6X or a 6 based in Enro's future?
What is that?
The Pixel FM UV6.
Oh yeah, we finally we did try to develop the earlier generations, but we got super busy. But now we're gonna release probably a Pixel 6 with our own secret sauce behind, if they allow us. But probably we're gonna aim it to be more like a OEM system. That means it's like a stamp, and you put it in any category you want. Keep it simple for you guys.
That's what the open standard is all about, like being there as a blueprint so you can extend on that.
And we believe it because now you can build PCBs for $10. So everybody can use EagleCAD, KitKat, or Altium. So you make your categories more efficient than making your own harnesses, safer too. So now you can, any kid can make a PCB for a few bucks, and now you just plug it and you're ready to go.
Anyone can be a Jordi now.
Yeah, anyone can be me. Nah, not everyone.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Jordi, again for your time. Thank you for everyone in the office. And thank you, everyone, for watching. This was a great episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to Jordi's website and robotics.io. I think we're going to put in a banner if we can, if you have time. Go to our DroneCode website, and don't forget that the PX4 Developers Summit videos are going to be uploaded soon afterwards. And I'll see you on the next episode, everyone. Thank you for your time. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.